back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the November addition to the My Debt Diary series. For those of you who are not familiar, this is just a series documenting how I'm paying off our debt, or how my husband and I are paying off our debt, except he doesn't participate in these videos. But it's fun to sit down and talk with you guys about what we're doing that works for us, and also, you know, what we're doing that may not be working for us. So for today's video, I am going to tell you guys the total amount of debt that we paid off during the month of November, the new debt balance that we currently owe, and perhaps some victories or failures that we have had along the way throughout the month of November. The first thing that I want you guys to know, especially for those of you who are new to this series or who just don't know me very well, I don't want to lie to you. I want you to understand that unfortunately, while we are paying off some debts, we are establishing others. And although, I mean, really all debt is frivolous, most of the time you're going to be going into debt for something that you don't necessarily need. But even so, the things that my husband and I choose to go into debt over are, it's hard to explain because I can't give you a reason as to why we need those things at those time. Of course, we never really need anything most of the time. It's just a decision that we make together. We decide that we are willing to spend money in this area or on this category or on this want, and not so willing to spend money on that want. So with that being said, there have been a couple of new purchases throughout the month of November, one of those being bedroom furniture. We have lived in our house for over a year now. We bought the house in August of last year, so now it is December, and we do not have any bedroom furniture. Our bedroom is right through this door. We have like a metal frame that our mattresses sit on, and we have some old mismatched furniture that's really not even functional that just sits in there to take up space, but we don't actually, it's not really used for anything. And we are storing a lot of our clothes in a computer desk slash shelf that really doesn't make any sense at all. So we need drawer space, we need storage space in our bedroom, but obviously we did not have to go out and spend money on a new bedroom suit. But that is something that we chose to do, and that was one of our purchases through the month of November. So we will start paying on that during this month, or like this month is in December, or January. I don't know when that payment's going to come in. But obviously we'll start making payments on that. And the second purchase that was second purchase that happened during the month of November was a purchase that was made by my husband, and it was a birthday gift to me, and it was obviously a frivolous purchase, but it was just a really sweet gesture, and we both agreed to just pay it off. So it sounds it sounds like we are taking one step forward and 3 or 4 steps back. But we're not, in a sense. We just choose to spend our money differently. We definitely do not choose to spend our money on the things that have gotten us into debt in the first place, which is a lot of eating out and a lot of spur-of-the-moment shopping. That's normally what has gotten us into debt in the past. We actually do use cash for those purchases now. We will use debt to make a bigger purchase, and that's just because we would rather not save the money, if that makes any sense. That doesn't make any sense, of course. I've kind of gone through with you guys what our specific debts are. I don't remember if it was in the last debt diary video or if it was in a different video, but I did go through that with you guys. And of course, all of those things that we've purchased in the past have been vehicles, which of course, you know, we've decided to purchase a vehicle, but we did not have to purchase a vehicle for $17,000. Those kinds of things. I personally do a lot of shopping. There's been lots of times where we haven't made ends meet at the end of the month, and we will decide to still go out and shop or still go out and eat, and that's been purchases we've made on our credit cards in the past. So that is what we're trying to steer clear of. That is the habit that we're trying to break, if that makes any sense. I feel like we are responsible enough in making decisions to go into debt for larger purchases because we take time to think about it and we decide for ourselves if it's something that we truly want, and then we decide together whether or not we want to owe the money on it or save the money up. And I feel like those decisions are more thought out than the impulsive buying of credit cards that we've done in the past. So although generally with Dave Ramsey and a lot of debt paying off, you're supposed to break the habit of using debt at all and break the habit of using credit cards, but I think for us personally, it's more so breaking the habit of those specific kinds of purchases, because that's what's got us into trouble in the first place, and that's what we're trying to steer clear of now, not all purchases altogether. And I personally believe that you can be responsible in paying off debt and going into debt as well, and then paying off debt. That's just my personal belief. I don't recommend that to everyone, because not everyone, I mean, I'm not saying we handle it very well, but it's not for everyone. It's not a good idea to tell someone to go get into debt and then, you know, just pay it off versus saving things up, but that's just what we like to do. Just know that my point is, we made a couple of purchases throughout the month of November that have obviously set us back a bit. In my mind, it doesn't set me back because I'm determined to pay off the current balance, and along the way I will knock these out as well. But I want to be honest with you guys, so that's what happened. To keep from having to like change all the numbers and refigure everything, I'm going to continue with the same debt payoff balance that I originally started with. And along the way, if we pay one of those off or pay something down on it, I will just mention it in a video and say this went towards that, and does not go specifically towards the big balance that we owe. However, during the month of November, we did pay some things. We did pay down on our car, and the exciting thing is we did actually pay the entire car off. November was our last payment on that car, and we paid it off. So a few months ago when we started doing this, we originally owed between $5,500 and $6,000 on the car out of $17,000 that we financed, and we finally decided to knock it out. That's kind of what initiated this whole process and initiated this series. And during the month of November, we actually were able to make that final payment and pay it off. So that's very exciting. We got our title in the mail a couple of days ago, and it really hit home then. So we're very, very excited to own the car now, and it's ours, and we don't have to make any more payments on it. That's gonna clear a $272 bill for us each month. So that's really exciting. The next thing I think we're gonna get started paying on is our larger credit cards. We each have a bank credit card that was issued to us from our banks, or from our bank. we bank at the same bank, and they have some really large balances on them. My credit limit continued to increase over the years that we've been married. His hasn't for some reason. But my limit increased to like $11,500, and yes, it is maxed out. And his increased to about $6,500. So we're going to start with his card at about $6,500, and it is still maxed out. I think it's got about $6,300 on it. So we're going to start paying that one down since we paid off the car, and those balances were similar, and it felt like a really fast process to pay off the car. We're just going to go ahead and pay that bank card down. And then we might jump to my bank card next, even though it's a really large balance, just because those minimum payments are really high. They're about $130 and $120 a month or something like that, which is really expensive. Those are probably the next largest monthly payments that we owe. And of course, the interest is ridiculously high. I think each month, about over $100 of interest accrues on each card each month. So you're looking at paying $200 a month in interest alone. So the lower we knock that balance down, the less interest we will owe, and obviously the more we'll pay off, and then we'll be debt free on those as well. So, well, one of the other things is we were also able to pay off one of our credit cards. One of those balances was just $670 or $80. So we had that much left over at the end of the month. We just took that and paid that card completely off. That's a victory as well, but obviously not as large of a victory because we didn't pay off a whole $5,000 like we did on the car. But we were able to pay off that card. So that one's gone as well. And that was a minimum payment of about $25 a month, which is not a lot. I'm not going to miss $25. But I'm not going to notice $25, but I am going to be glad to have that extra money in my pocket. obviously, when I sit down and talk to you guys about this stuff, I really enjoy it, or I wouldn't find so many different things to say about it. So for those of you who are watching these videos, if you have any ideas of topics that you would like me to discuss more specifically, I would love to hear them. I'd probably love to sit down and talk about them with you guys. So just let me know in the comments. But other than that, I guess we'll move on and complete this video. I wanted to give you guys a number of like the total amount that we paid during the month of November, just the extra cash that we had that we paid off, and then give you a new total debt number of like the total debt that we owe after having paid that off. And keep in mind, for those of you who might be discouraged or might feel like you can't do this, keep in mind that we're doing this with a very loose budget. It's very non-restrictive. I mean, I've mentioned before that I set up budgets and I try to stick to them, but in the last video, and I don't want to do that in every video because I don't stick to those budgets all the time, but in the last video I told you guys like the budgets that I set and how far we exceeded them, and the same thing happened during the month of November as well. Of course, I always set a budget at the beginning of the month for every category that I want to spend in, but my husband and I's spending have gone a lot less restrictive more recently than it used to be when we were newly married. So we have been exceeding some of those budgets every single month. And even though we're not very restricted on those types of things as far as budget spending, we're still managing to pay off a pretty good chunk each month. So let that be an encouragement to you, because you don't have to have a lot of money to start paying off debt. If you just put $10 or $15 extra a month, you're going to pay it down much faster. So just try to remember that. Just pay anything that you can. Remember the snowball effect. The more that you pay off each month, the more money you're going to have each month to put towards a new debt. And it may take a while at first and it may be a very slow start, but you're going to keep moving and you're going to get there. Let me correct myself. The credit card that I was telling you about is not $11,500. It's a credit limit of $11,000, and it is maxed out. I just wanted to not tell you guys a lie. It's not the extra $500. It's just $11,000. Okay, so now that I have taken the time to total up all the numbers, I can give those to you. So I wanted to kind of give you guys the amount of income that we accrued during the month of November so that you can kind of have a baseline to go off of. And like I've said before, I earn 2 checks at the beginning of the month, which goes towards all of our bills across the entire month. My husband gets paid a BAH check each month for being in school since he is now out of the military. And that is also a monthly check, and that goes towards all of the bills all across the entire month. And then he gets paid for a job that he does. He actually works a pretty close to full-time job, and he gets paid not twice a week. He gets paid twice a month, so he's paid every 2 weeks. So we get 2 paychecks a month from that job that he works. And then we get a rent check, which is what we call our rent check. I don't think that's the actual name of it. But we bought a house in Virginia when we were living there, and we've since rented it out. We did not sell it. So when they pay their rent, we get that check, and we turn around and pay the mortgage with it, and we make a small profit off of it as well. So with all of that from the month of November totaled up, that was an income of $7,124.13. During the month of November, we paid off $1,534.30 worth of debt. And that went towards the last bit of our car, and it paid off also one of our small credit cards, which is about $600. And then we took another almost $300 and started paying off a new credit card, which was the smaller of the 2 bank cards that I was telling you about. Out of the $7,000 that we earned, which it varies each month, but out of the $7,000 that we earned through November, obviously we turn around and pay our bills with it, so we don't actually get to keep all of that. But we probably do get to keep more of it than we think we do. We just spend it when we shouldn't. So we don't stick to our budgets, you know, like I've talked about. That's why it's so important to stick to your budget. But we haven't been sticking to our eating out budget and shopping budgets, and that's kind of where that money goes. However, we have still been paying off a pretty steadily amount of about $1,400 to $1,500 a month on debt. And that is a number that I'm very proud of because we've never steadily paid off that much before. In the past, we've been able to pay $700 or $800 a month, and that was probably a really good amount. And if we paid $1,200 off, that was like mind-blowing. So although we could be doing a lot more, I'm very proud of what we are doing and very excited about it. Like I said, you don't have to start with a large amount. Just start with anything at all, because even though we could be paying off possibly $2,000 to $3,000 a month, we're not doing it either. Okay. So the original debt number that we started with at the beginning of this series was $40,105.90. Last month, we owed $37,059.41, and then for the month of November, after I recalculated it, we owe $36,194.66. So we're knocking it down by at least $1,000 each month. That's really exciting because, like I mentioned in the last video, we could have it paid off in 36 months, which is 3 years, but it's still nice to see a light at the end of the tunnel. But anyways, that's going to complete this video. That's really all I had to talk about with you guys today. Like I said, if you have any ideas of topics, please leave me a comment. I'll be glad to share my thoughts or ideas or our ways of doing things, our views or whatever. And I think that's it. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. I don't know what else to say about that. Can I say that online? That would make $7,000? Woo! I'd be afraid if somebody come rob me.
I don't think we want to make that much. That's a little higher than usual.
Well, we make that much. We just pay our bills with it. My foot is asleep. Okay, so the original debt number that we started with at the beginning of this series was $40,000, 105.